What up, what up? This is Raphael with NBA Draft Junkies, and in today's episode, it is Mailbag number 3. This episode is also on my Locked On NBA Draft Today podcast. I hope you enjoy it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Click the bell notification button, like, comment, subscribe, or whatever the script I'm supposed to say. All right, here we go. All right, this question is, it's crazy to me. I'm just go ahead and read the question. If the Warriors offer James Wiseman, Andrew Wiggins, and 2 first-round picks to the Blazers for Dame Lillard, does Portland say no? Man, that is a tough question. I'm on the spot early. I'm a Blazers fan. I've made no secret about that. And depending on how the lottery shakes out, let's say the Warriors end up getting Minnesota's pick, then Golden State will have 2 lottery picks. I think it's kind of hard to say at this point simply because we do not know where Golden State is going to be picking. If it happens to be, let's say, the 5th pick, and I think the Warriors are at like 14. Now, Dame is from the Oakland area, and I think that he's loyal to Portland, but this is the first time, to my knowledge, at least publicly, he seems to be wavering a little bit on his loyalty, and I totally understand it. I feel like Dame has basically covered a lot of the holes in the Blazers roster, which is a totally different subject that I can go on. But at this point, I think Dame will be 31 when the season starts next year. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I think he's going to slow down anytime soon. But Portland, that window to be a championship contender is closing. I mean, I think CJ has to be close to 30. It's a tough situation. Now, if you're Portland, you may have to decide, are we going to continue to stay in this range where we're like around the 7th or 8th seed or losing the first round? I mean, they got rid of Terry Stotts. I don't think he was the problem. The Blazers' defense was pretty bad. And the reason why the Blazers' defense was bad, in my opinion, is because they probably had one of the least athletic front lines in the NBA. You had Nurkic, you had Melo, you had Kanter. I'm a big fan of Enes Kanter, but he's not really playable in the playoffs because teams are just going to put him in pick and rolls. I have been on record of saying I wanted the Blazers to target Aaron Gordon. They decided to go with Norm Powell instead of Aaron Gordon. It's like the management doubled down on scoring. I think Aaron Gordon would have probably helped. And, you know, Norman Powell's a free agent, so it could be a rental. And I don't want to make this whole segment about the Blazers, but I think Portland may have to consider it if that is the offer. You would get a young center in Wiseman, and I guess they would just start the whole rebuild if that's the case. I don't know the answer if Neil O'Shea was in that position, if he would turn it down, because we don't know where the pick is. But let's say Portland has an opportunity to get, let's say, a Jalen Suggs, Davion Mitchell, James Wiseman, and Andrew Wiggins. Now, is that team going to compete right away? No. But, I mean, those are some pretty decent building blocks for the future. So that was a pretty long-winded answer. But, man, that first question came out swinging. You put me right on the hot seat. All right, the next question is, and this question is based off of my last mock draft, or actually the mock draft that I did for the picks 15 through 30. And the question is, why would Houston draft Greg Brown when they have Kenyon Martin Jr.? I think that's a good question, fair assessment. I feel like Martin is more of a 3. I think he's like 6'6", and Greg Brown is probably 6'9" or 6'10", maybe 6'8". I mean, we'll find out once the official measurements come out. So I think Brown is more so of a natural 4, while I think Kenyon Martin Jr. could be a really good wing defender. If he can improve his shot, then, I mean, I guess you can say the same thing about Greg Brown. But I get it. There's some similarities there. Very athletic, but I think that their positions are a little bit different. I don't know if you can play Martin at the 4 because he's like 6'6", even though this is the small ball era, but hopefully that answers your question there. All right, the next question is, what is it about Max Abmas that you like over Cam Thomas. I feel they play a similar role, and I like Cam way more as a long-term prospect. Another great question. The reason I have Max ahead of Cam Thomas is because I feel like Max is better suited to play two positions. I know he's an undersized guard, but I think you can play Max a little bit at the 1. And then if you have a bigger guard, you can play him at the 2 on offense, and you can play him off the ball. And also, Cam Thomas I think he's a relentless gunner, and the ball is just not going to move. I think he's an acquired taste. But this draft is really tricky. If Cam ends up being selected in the teens, I wouldn't be shocked. If he falls in the 40s, I wouldn't be shocked either, because I think he's such an acquired taste. And just for me personally, I feel like Max is better suited because he's a better passer and playmaker. I know that he has one more year of college experience than Cam, but what makes Cam so interesting to me is that he's a guy that he's more of a scorer than a shooter. He wasn't the most efficient, but he's really good at getting to the foul line. So that could kind of make up for the fact that I feel like Max is a better passer. Just my opinion, I think I'm going to take Max because I feel like he has more upside as a playmaker. And then, not comparing him to Trae Young, but I feel like the success of Trae Young has made it has helped Max's draft stock. Again, I'm not saying they're the same player. Trae Young is on a different level when it comes to making plays for others and passing, but I feel like with their shooting ability to score from deep, I think there's some similarities there. I think Max could be a guy that can provide instant offense. And I have him going to Phoenix on my last mock. And Phoenix is looking good. Right now, they're up 2-0 in the second round. And they're in position to get a pretty good draft pick. And that's where I have Max going. So another long-winded answer, but that is my answer to the question there. All right, the draft lottery is less than 2 weeks away. Who do you think wins? That's a pretty good question. I mean, I think Houston has the best chances to win, but Cleveland could win again. I mean, that would be what their, I don't know how many number 1 picks. I guess you go Bennett, Kyrie, Bron. That could be like their 4th number 1 choice in the last, 20 years. That would be interesting. I know I did a mock, and I had the Pacers somehow rising up to like the 3rd pick. That would be interesting if that happens, because that means somebody else fell out. But as far as who I think wins the lottery, I'm going to put my money on Orlando. I'm going to say Orlando wins the 2021 NBA draft lottery. All right, again, another Blazers question. And I guess this happens when I have been on record of saying that I'm a Blazers fan. And this question is, you're the new GM of the Blazers. Fix the roster. I kind of addressed this in the long-winded first answer, but I am looking to add some athleticism on the front line. I'm looking to find a legitimate backup point guard. I like Ant Simons. I think he's more of a combo, but if you look at the Blazers roster, they don't have like a floor general in the second unit. You don't have a big that's like a vertical lob threat, and you don't have a big that is a floor spacer. You don't have a really pick and pop big. I know Zach Collins was supposed to be that guy, but availability is is something that's in question with Zach. I imagine that he'll have a bigger role next season. And I off the top of my head, I don't know if Cantor signed a 1 or 2 year deal. And I like Enes a lot. I like him. But he's kind of like Montrezl Harrell in a sense, a guy that you can play a lot of minutes in the regular season, but then in the playoffs, it's going to be tough to give him 20-something minutes per game. So I would address the need for athleticism. And I mean, I think about guys like Daniel Gafford. The Bulls got him, the Wizards were able to get him for a little bit of nothing. He would fill holes that the Blazers need as far as an energy guy, a vertical lob threat, a rim runner. There's a few guys that I think could fill that role that they may be able to get on two-way deals because Portland doesn't have a pick. And we'll see if they end up deciding to buy into the second round, but they don't have a draft pick. So it's going to be hard to address some needs in the draft. What are your thoughts on Ibou Badji? I like this question, right? So I had a chance to watch him play 2 summers ago. I think it was the under 18s. And the reason if you listen to my podcast, I mentioned the under 18s and the under 19s. And the reason I get them mixed up is because they both were in Greece. I went to both tournaments, and it's hard for me to remember, did this guy play at the 19s or the 18s? So I think he was at the under 19s. Phenomenal athlete. I mean, he has all the physical tools. He's bouncy, crazy wingspan. He's a little raw. Well, I wouldn't even say he's a little raw. He is raw. I've watched this film a little bit over the last 2 years, and he still lacks that polish. He still seems like basketball is new to him. But it just made me think about this. I don't see him on a lot of different draft boards. If he does not get drafted, I would pick him up. I would pick up the phone and I would call his agent immediately. Actually, I wouldn't even wait till the draft is over. I would call his agent before the draft and set up a two-way contract with a little bit of guaranteed money, because he's shown some flashes of being able to, or having a decent touch around the rim. Again, he's really raw, but I think he has some potential to be a shot-blocking vertical lob threat. And, I mean, you have to wonder a little bit about his mode. I mean, there's a few things that you have to wonder, but I think he would be an excellent candidate for a two-way contract if he doesn't get drafted. But I think that if I were a GM, I think I would probably draft him, but you never know. I mean, if you can probably get him for a two-way and less guaranteed money. But I'm pretty high on Badji. I'm just a little disappointed that he hasn't shown the growth and improvement over the last 2 years that I expected. And if I want to say maybe like 2 years ago at this time, I started seeing his name on mock drafts as a potential lottery pick, which, again, it's always hard to project years in advance, but his name definitely has slid over the past 2 years. But I do like Badji, and I do think that there is some long-term potential there. All right, next question. Who should the Mavs target with their picks? Luka needs another scorer. Well, this is an easy question because the Dallas Mavericks do not have a draft pick. They have traded all their picks away. I know one is going to the Knicks. So Dallas is in a situation where they're going to have to either buy into the second round, or they're going to have to, select an undrafted free agent. And you never know. I mean, you look at Marcus Howard last year. I don't think he got drafted, but he's actually playing for Denver. He's been able to get some rotation minutes. I mean, a lot of that is due to injuries, but he's a guy that, again, it was a steal for Denver. Now, I'm on record. I really thought the Mavs won 2020 draft night. They were able to acquire Josh Richardson, Tyler Bay, draft Tyrell Terry, and they had Josh Green. And I probably played 10 less minutes than those guys combined, and I didn't even put on a jersey. So the Mavs are in a weird situation anyway, because I think Luka was too good too early. And by him being that good, that they weren't going to be able to get high draft picks. And then also they gave away or traded their picks for Porzingis. And then also the guys that they drafted this year, because the Mavs were in win-now mode, they didn't get a chance to really develop. So I don't really see Dallas buying into the second round or any draft picks that will be able to come in and contribute. So sorry if you're a Mavs fan and you love the NBA draft, you can sit this one out, because I don't see any movement there. Unless they move Porzingis, which I don't know. I mean, I think that you have a better chance of just trying to make it work between Luka and Porzingis. I think they've only played 10 playoff games together. I know it's popular to pile on Porzingis because he didn't play well, but I'm still going to give them another year. Another year. I mean, I think it's too soon to just kind of give up on him. He's only 25. He averaged 20 points, 8 rebounds this season. I know that meant nothing in the playoffs, but it's only 10 playoff games for Luka and Porzingis. And I know there's some rumors that they don't necessarily get along. I think the best way to improve the Mavs is to make that relationship work, because I can't expect the draft pick to provide any value for Dallas. All right, moving on. Charlotte has 3 picks in the draft. Thoughts on what direction they should go in? Well, last year Charlotte won the lottery in a sense. I mean, they got LaMelo Ball, who I think is going to win Rookie of the Year. Hasn't been announced as of the time of this recording. And then they had 3 guys that they had in the second round that didn't really play a lot. You had Vernon Carey from Duke. You had Nick Richards from Kentucky. And then they had Grant Riller, who I was so high on. Like, I made a comment on my Twitter that if you would have told me that Grant Riller wouldn't play for Charlotte and Marcus Howard would be getting rotation minutes in the second round on a playoff team, I would have told you you're crazy. I would have said there's no way possible. But, you know, opportunity is everything. And for Charlotte with 3 picks in this particular draft, I don't really know how. Actually, I don't even know if they're going to keep all of those picks, because you still have the guys from last year. I don't know their contract situations off the top of my head, but I don't think there's a situation where Charlotte keeps all 3 picks. Maybe they try to package them, a few of them to move up. I don't know. But I think with their first pick in the first round, I would select a center if Sengün is available, Alperen Sengün from Turkey. If he's available, I would take him, because they have to find a way to get rid of the Cody Zeller, Bismack, Biyombo 1-2 center combination. I used to live in Charlotte 2013-14, and I was around the team that particular season, and those guys were there. I mean, that team had Josh McRoberts, Chris Douglas-Roberts, Ramon Sessions. I mean, Al Jefferson, guys that are out of the league, and those 2 guys were on the team then. I know Biyombo went to Orlando and Toronto, but he's back in Charlotte. I mean, it seems like those guys have been there forever. They lasted in Charlotte longer than Cam Newton, if I'm not mistaken. It's time to split that duo up. I know they drafted 2 bigs last year, but yeah, I mean, I would go at center. Alperen Sengün would be my choice if he's available. If not, maybe Isaiah Jackson, but again, I don't know what Charlotte would do with 2 or 3 second-round picks. I have no idea. Where do you have Isaiah Todd? Now, I believe Isaiah Todd has been grossly underrated. You have a guy that's 6'10". He played in the G League, which is a higher level of competition in college basketball. He averaged 12 points a game, 5 rebounds, and he shot a respectable 36% from 3. Not many guys that are 6'10" that you can pencil in as a possible floor spacer. So I think Isaiah Todd is highly underrated. I don't know if he's a first-round pick, but I would definitely take a look at him in the late first round. And if I'm a team like Oklahoma City, the Thunder have 2 picks in the mid-30s, I don't let Isaiah Todd slide past my 2 picks, even though there will be a little bit of redundancy with Baisley and Pokashevsky and Isaiah Todd, but the Thunder aren't looking to win now. They're all about developing and stockpiling talent, and, you know, Isaiah Todd is definitely talented. He's someone that I feel like people kind of soured on. He was highly regarded early in his high school career, and then a lot of people just kind of wrote him off. You started seeing more negatives and red flags about him as opposed to what he does well. I'm going to assume maybe he was bored with high school. Maybe he just wasn't as motivated because he was so much more talented than everybody else. And now he's, you know, shown that he can contribute and play and put up good numbers in a G League situation. So I think Isaiah Todd is highly underrated. Why is Jeremiah Robinson-Earl so low on draft boards? That's a pretty good question. If you look at the numbers, he had a pretty good year. He got off to a hot start. And I think the main reason why you don't see his name so high on draft boards is because he doesn't space the floor. But I like him, and I like guys from Villanova because Villanova guys, they're like a program that churns out good rotation players. You look at Jalen Brunson, you look at Mikal Bridges, you look at Josh Hart, you look at Eric Paschal. Those guys were able to come in and contribute right away on their teams. And so I think Robinson-Earl fits into that mode. I mean, the swing skill for him is definitely his outside shot. I think he shot less than 30% from three. But I like him as an energy guy, a guy that will be a pretty decent defender and just come in and make hustle plays. So I think he's going to be a very valuable pick, maybe late in the second round. I mean, I think that's where he's projected to go as a late second round pick. He's someone that could possibly end up going to a good team and getting some rotation minutes as a rookie on a good team. Don't know if his value will really be able to fully be showcased if he goes to a bad team or team that's looking to lose. I think he's a guy that is best on a winning team where his intangibles kind of stand out a little more, if that makes sense. Next question. All right, this is a good one. Has Nikola Jokic's MVP season helped improve Alperen Sengun's draft stock? I want to answer that as yes and no. And the reason I say yes and no is I'll go with yes first. Yes, because Jokic has proven that you can be a throwback, slow-footed, non-athletic center in today's pace and space NBA and win MVP. I mean, Jokic is an incredible story. He was the 41st pick, and I saw today that when they announced Denver selecting him with the 41st pick, it was during a Taco Bell commercial. Like, they didn't even give my man any airplay. I mean, it was literally like the Taco Bell commercial, and then you saw at the bottom of the ticker that Denver selected him at number 41. So, yes, on one hand, Jokic has proven that, well, one, he beat the odds. And the reason I say no is because Alperen Sengün helped his draft stock. At this time last year, I did not see him on anybody's mock draft or big boards as a potential lottery pick. He had a phenomenal season, arguably the best big in Europe this year. I don't remember the final stat tally, but I know throughout the year he was hovering around 20 points, 9 rebounds per game in a tough Turkish league. I mean, the Turkish league, in my opinion, is the second best domestic league in Europe, and Sengun was dominant. Now, I know he's going to receive a lot of comparisons to Jokic because they're both international players that have similar builds. Jokic is a generational passer. Like, he is literally a high IQ point guard in the body of a throwback center. That's what separates him, is his passing, and he also is a floor spacer. Sengun is not there as a passer, even though I think he's a really good passer. I mean, it's just tough to compare anyone as a passer to Nikola Jokic. But Sengun is a really good passer, and he hasn't really shown, at least in games, the ability to spread the floor and knock down threes. On one hand, you can say that Jokic wasn't as productive at the same level, at the same age as Sengun. Jokic wasn't in... I mean, they have similar builds. Jokic was kind of... out of shape. I mean, conditioning was, I think, one of the knocks on him, that he needed to, lose a lot of weight and take the game serious. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was kind of one of the knocks on him, why he fell in the second round. But Sengun is, again, he's a lot better at the same stage. But if he can develop into a reliable three-point shooter like Jokic has, then the sky's the limit for him. So it's kind of like a double answer. On one hand, yes, he may have helped it, but on the other hand, you got to give Sengun credit for the work that he's put in on his body and how he's improved his game, which is the reason why I think that he has the potential to be a lottery pick. All right, this is the last question, and it is, I knew I could not go a whole mailbag episode without a Lakers question. Usually Knicks fans are the ones that are asking the question, and Knicks fans are tough. Like, I posted on my last mock who I had the Knicks selecting with their 2 picks, and it was 50-50. Some thought it was good, some absolutely hated it. And I love Knicks fans, especially around draft time, because they are by far the most passionate fan base about the draft. And I would even say the most knowledgeable. So shout out to all the Knicks fans. And shout out to Knicks Fan TV that had me on as a guest last year, which has brought me quite a few Knicks followers and subscribers. So shout out to CP and Knicks Fan TV. But like I said, I knew I couldn't go too far without a Lakers question. And of course, the Lakers fan wants to know, can we trade Kyle Kuzma and move up? I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know if there's a team that is willing that wants Kyle Kuzma so bad that they're willing to trade their first round pick to acquire Kuzma. It depends on the package deal. I think that Dennis Schroeder is not coming back, but I think it makes the most sense for the Lakers to do a sign and trade as opposed to losing him for nothing because of the way their cap situation is set up. I believe Bron, Anthony Davis, and Kuzma's contracts puts them close to the salary cap. And so anyway, I don't know. I don't think that a team wants Kuzma that bad, but it will probably have to be some type of sign and trade, maybe. I don't know. I mean, just let's say hypothetically, the Knicks want to address their need for point guard or starting point guard because they had some issues scoring, and they decide that they want Dennis Schroeder. Not saying that this is going to happen, but let's say they decide they want Dennis Schroeder, and they work out some type of deal with the Lakers where you get Schroeder and Kuzma for, I don't know, whatever the picks. I don't know. That's probably the only scenario that I can think of off the top of my head, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense, where the Lakers could trade Kuzma and move up in the draft. I'm out of time. Thank you so much for listening to my Mailbag episode number 3. Again, this is Raphael with NBA Draft Junkies, and I am out.